Hello there and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going through the best available players at the MLB trade deadline. There's a lot of phenomenal talent that is out there that will be acquirable. There's quite a few teams that are looking to sell. We'll talk about some of the teams that might be in on some of these key players in the trade market. As always, hit the subscribe button if you're new. Would appreciate all the support if you'd hang around for our MLB videos. Now, jumping into the first player. Juan Soto is obviously the big fish in the trade market. With him declining that huge extension, there's a lot of teams that are going to be in on him in particular. I think there's a huge market for him, obviously, with him being only 23 years old, a very, very well-established star in the league already. And I think this is a guy that can push a lot of teams from borderline contention to true contention. Right now, he's leading the league in terms of actual walks. He's hitting 247, 20 home runs, 43 RBIs, and I think he's going to be a great contributor for a long time in this league. Arguably a top 5 player in the league overall still, which might be a hotter take, but I do believe he has that kind of talent. And honestly, I think his career is going to continue to ascend. So look for the Washington Nationals to deal Juan Soto at this deadline. Now, the next player is Willson Contreras. It's very tough to come across catchers that hit at the level that he hits at. Right now, currently slashing 258, 14 home runs, and 37 RBIs at this current moment. You look at Willson Contreras and what he can bring with his bat, it's very, very vital to an organization. The Chicago Cubs are clearly in a rebuild, which they've almost completely initiated that fully. However, a Willson Contreras trade very well could cement everything in terms of, getting rid of some of their established players that they've had, bring in a multiple group of, phenomenal minor league talent would be huge for the Chicago Cubs. I think they need to look to get into that mode. The Chicago Cubs are in a position where they can add a lot of big time prospects from a Willson Contreras trade. There's a lot of teams looking at that catching spot. I very well think that, the Tampa Bay Rays could be a team that would be kind of interesting for him. Looking to clearly add some more bats. I think Willson Contreras definitely fits the bill for sure. He's a guy that has been able to produce his entire MLB career, and that doesn't really change if he moves on to another team, another roster. Willson Contreras is a guy that we definitely have to keep our eye on. Next player, Luis Castillo. Luis Castillo is a phenomenal starting pitcher in the league. Obviously, the Reds got off to an atrocious start, but Luis Castillo really hasn't missed a beat. Right now, he's 3-4 with a 2.77 ERA and a 1.07 WHIP, which is very, very impressive from a statistical standpoint. And when you watch him, he has some nasty stuff on the mound. This is a guy that is one of those starters that you want to help, kind of front your rotation. He's probably a 2 or 3 in terms of being on a really, really elite contending team. I more so see him as a 2 on a playoff roster for sure, but he is a quality starting pitcher. This is a guy that can log major innings. He is a true stud. So Luis Castillo being available just because of the Reds situation is something that we have to monitor. I love his game. I think that this is a guy that you can really, really rally behind. A team that I would look to trade for Luis Castillo, there's a multiple of suitors, but I think the Minnesota Twins are a team that is definitely in need of starting rotation help. You look at what they currently have with Joe Ryan, Chris Archer, Dylan Bundy. I don't love the rotation overall, but I think a guy like Luis Castillo could help, really propel this team into the postseason. They're kind of having issues with not only the starting pitching, but also the bullpen has been a common problem for the Minnesota Twins. I think that is very, very vital that they go ahead and jump on a guy like Luis Castillo. They're going to have to give up, high-end quality prospects, but, they have a number of guys in the minor league system like Austin Martin that could be dangled in front of a team. Now, it's kind of counterproductive, them trading Barrios and then all of a sudden, getting Martin in that deal and then, redealing him. So it'd be kind of interesting to see how that situation would play out, considering they're looking to be buyers at this deadline. Next guy is Bryan Reynolds. Bryan Reynolds is a player that he's been kind of up and down in his career, but when we saw him at his peak, he was a very consistent hitter that was hitting to all fields, and he could do a lot on the diamond. Bryan Reynolds' services could be used by a lot of teams, just considering his versatility, his ability to hit the ball once again to all fields, can swing with a little bit of pop. But I think more so the idea is that he would be hitting for average, honestly. So Bryan Reynolds is a guy that I'm watching, heading into the deadline. Very, very productive player. However, he's had a little bit of ups and downs. We consider the pandemic year as well in there. So Bryan Reynolds is one of those interesting players. Josh Bell. Now, Josh Bell is a guy that I kind of look at and think, wow, he's been super, super productive this season, sitting 305 with 13 home runs, 50 RBIs. Overall, Josh Bell on this very, very tough Nationals team, they are sitting at the very, very bottom of that NL East. Could be a prize trade chip. Him playing first base, swinging a good bat, getting on base consistently, and also providing a little bit of power is going to be valuable, to a lot of teams. There's going to be a lot of teams looking. I'm kind of curious to see, who some of those suitors might be. Once again, are we looking at teams like the Miami Marlins that are borderline, that are trying to make that postseason jump? Are they going to get in on that? They have Jesus Aguilar. However, he could be a guy that's moved to that DH slot, and then you put a guy like Josh Bell. But once again, that's a divisional trade. I'm not sure if I exactly see that happening. However, Josh Bell is going to be a highly coveted asset heading into the trade deadline, just considering how he's been playing this year, how efficient he's been at getting on base. Overall, I love Josh Bell. I think he's been super underrated, especially his stint here in Washington. It's just one of those things that you have to consider him being a big time guy that could get dealt, especially with how great that bat is. The next player, Andrew Benintendi. Now, let's not forget last year, he was a Gold Glove player in 2021. This year, he makes his first All-Star game. Andrew Benintendi is going to be, sought after by many, many teams in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if a team like Cleveland would jump in on a guy like Benintendi, more so under the idea that they want to add some more hitting to that lineup. Cleveland does a really good job pitching, but I think they could add a little bit more offensive boost here with a guy like Benintendi. This made a lot of sense for the Royals to do, when they got him. This was going to be kind of one of those reclamation projects, and we're going to go ahead, give him that deal. And then all of a sudden we can move him later on for a plethora of young elite prospects. Andrew Benintendi has done wonders this year. He's slashing that 318. He only has 3 home runs and 39 RBIs, but that 318 has been super impressive. Once again, being able to get on base consistently, getting base hits, opportunistic runs that he's generated. So Andrew Benintendi is one of the hot names on the market for sure. I'm kind of excited to see, what the Royals do. Now, speaking of the Royals, we are not done just yet. WHIT Merrifield is one of those ultimate utility guys that has been super impressive throughout his entire career. Obviously came up a little bit later, in his career, a little bit older prospect. However, WHIT Merrifield has not disappointed since joining the Royals organization at the major league level. He's a 2-time All-Star. He's a guy that can hit for a lot of contact, consistently getting on base, has a good glove, and you can place him a lot of different places. Not only at second base, you can put him in the outfield. WHIT Merrifield does it all. And I think that the Royals maybe should have traded him 2 years ago. However, they wanted to keep him a part of this organization, but I think this very well could be the year. Currently hitting 243, 5 home runs, 38 RBI. So, statistically, that's not going to jump off the screen at you. However, WHIT Merrifield is a player that we have to consider, once again, being dealt with his versatility. And, I think he is a much better hitter than he's shown so far this year. He's definitely had some struggles. However, WHIT Merrifield is a terrific player. Now, the next guy is David Bednar. And David is one of those guys that, really, really burst onto the scene this year for Pittsburgh. They have a number of different assets that they could be moving out the door. Obviously, Reynolds and Bednar could make a lot of sense for multiple teams. But Bednar is a guy that should be sought after by every single team that is currently in contention or close to contention. A true shutdown arm in a bullpen, very, very well could be used as a high leverage guy, 8th or 9th inning for a playoff team. That's the kind of stuff that he has. Absolutely filthy stuff from the Pittsburgh right-handed reliever. Bednar is one of those guys that you can get super excited about at that reliever spot. You trust him when he's in the game. You know it's in good hands for the most part. So that's kind of the collective list here that we have. Let me know in the comment section below who else you think could be dealt during the deadline. Obviously, there's a lot of other really good players that very well could be available by the non-contending teams, but I just wanted to share a few of them with you. Some of those guys that have, kind of came out of nowhere this year, guys that have been already established in the league that very well could get dealt. A lot of talent on the trade market this year for those contending teams. So once again, let me know in that comment section below who you think will get dealt. Had a lot of fun making this video. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, leave a like on today's video if you did enjoy the content. Once again, I appreciate all the support, and we will catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.